Some people look at a mountain and see an obstacle. They see a giant, unmovable piece of rock that stands in their way. They figure the only thing to do is go around it. R.G LeTourneau was not one of those people. He looked at a mountain and saw a pile of dirt. Then he'd get to work figuring out the fastest way to move it somewhere else. He was a man who saw problems not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to invent a solution. He didn't just think outside the box. He built a bigger. Robert Gilmore LeTourneau was born in 1888 in Richford, Vermont. His family didn't have much. They were devout Christians. From a young age, R.G. wasn't the kind of kid who could sit still in a classroom. His mind was always churning, always trying to figure out how things worked. At 14, he'd had enough formal education. He dropped out and went looking for a real job. His early career was a collection of tough, dirty jobs. Apprentice in an iron foundry, learning the language of molten metal. He worked as a woodcutter. He worked as a bricklayer's assistant. He worked as an auto mechanic. Each job was a new classroom. He wasn't learning from books. He was learning with his hands. He'd take apart engines just to see how they ticked. Life threw him curveballs. He tried ventures and many failed. He opened a car garage that went under. He took land leveling contracts and fought stubborn California soil with inadequate equipment. He was constantly struggling, often in debt, always working. It was a hard life, but it was essential. It forged his work ethic and filled his head with practical knowledge you can't get from a textbook. By the early 1920s, R.G. was running a modest earth-moving business in Stockton, California. He was making a living, but just barely. He was a good mechanic and a hard worker, but he felt a sense of emptiness. He was attending church, but his faith felt like a background habit. The message was simple but powerful: dedicating your life and work completely to God. The preacher said something that hit R.G. like a thunderbolt. God needs businessmen as well as preachers. In that instant, something clicked. He realized he could serve God right where he was. That night, he made a deal. He talked to God and laid it all out. He made God the senior partner in his business. He pledged a 90-10 split. Give 90% to the Lord's work, live on the remaining 10%. The decision electrified his life. It gave him purpose and energy. Business challenges became challenges for his partner. The partnership unleashed his creativity. He saw the machine shop not just as a repair shop, but as God's machine shop. He believed his inventiveness was a divine gift and resolved to use it to the fullest. His direction was set. The world was about to feel the impact. One revolutionary invention after another proved it was working. The little machine shop in California became a global heavy industry force because its owner handed the reins to a higher power. With his new sense of mission, R.G. LeTourneau's mind went into overdrive. He saw his factory floor as a sacred space, a laboratory where he could develop the tools his partner needed. He worked relentlessly, often 16 hours a day, driven by an energy that amazed everyone around him. He would famously say, "There are no big shots in this company. We are all little shots working for the big shot, our Lord." His faith wasn't left at church on Sunday. It was welded into the very frame of his business. He began to pray about everything. A broken machine. He prayed for guidance on how to fix it. A thorny engineering problem. He asked his senior partner for the solution. Many of his best ideas came in the middle of the night or during morning devotions. He'd wake up with a complete blueprint in his head, rush to the shop and start building. Employees saw him chalking out new designs at all hours, eager to bring ideas to life. That mix of mechanical genius and faith created an incredible culture. He saw employees as people. He knew their names, their families, and their struggles. He wanted the work to mean more than a paycheck. People were drawn to it. The company grew fast. Others chased the bottom line. Profits, market share, shareholder demands. R.G. was driven by partnership with God. One revolutionary invention after another proved it was working. The little machine shop in California became a global heavy industry force. Before R.G. LeTourneau, moving large amounts of earth was a slow, painful process. It involved mules, steam shovels, and lots of men with hand tools. It was inefficient and expensive. R.G. looked at this and knew there had to be a better way. Drawing on his experience and his newfound divine purpose, he began to invent. He pioneered the use of electric motors and controls on heavy equipment. He replaced cumbersome gears and cables with powerful, responsive systems that gave a single operator unprecedented control over massive machines. He was essentially giving one worker the power of 100. His first major breakthrough was the carryall scraper. This wasn't just an improvement, it was a revolution. A scraper is a machine that digs, hauls, and spreads earth all in one continuous motion. He combined them with his powerful turn-a-pull tractors, creating a nimble, two-wheeled prime mover that could pull these enormous scrapers at speeds no one had ever seen before. The age of modern, high-speed earth-moving had begun. Then came the bulldozers. Before LeTourneau, blades were mounted on the front of crawler tractors, but they were clumsy. R.G. developed a better, more direct way to mount the blade and a more powerful cable control system to operate it. The modern bulldozer was born. During World War II, his inventions became absolutely critical to the Allied effort. His bulldozers, scrapers, and cranes cleared land for airstrips on remote Pacific islands in a matter of days. They built the roads that supplied the front lines and cleared rubble from bombed-out cities. General Eisenhower recognized that the war was won as much by LeTourneau's machines as by tanks and planes. His list of inventions just kept growing. He developed mobile concrete mixers, giant logging arches, and massive cranes that could lift entire houses. He created the electric wheel, a self-contained, motorized hub that eliminated the need for traditional axles and transmissions. This invention allowed him to build machines of truly staggering proportions, like the land trains used to supply distant Arctic radar stations, and the colossal wheel loaders still used in mining operations today. As R.G.'s company exploded with success, so did his income, but he never forgot the deal he made with his senior partner. While other titans of industry were buying yachts and building mansions, R.G. was focused on his 90-10 promise. He and his wife, Evelyn, lived a remarkably simple life. They saw the money that flowed in not as their own, but as capital for the Lord's work. He established the LeTourneau Foundation in 1935 as the primary channel for his philanthropy. He was a hands-on giver, just as he was a hands-on inventor. He wanted to see the money at work, solving real-world problems and spreading the Christian gospel. The foundation funded missions all over the world, supporting preachers, building churches, printing religious literature in dozens of languages, and distributing it globally. He was particularly passionate about using his technical skills to aid mission work. He created gospel planes that could land on short, rough airstrips. He developed swamp buggies that could travel through otherwise impassable terrain. He was applying his engineering genius to the practical problems of evangelism, helping missionaries reach people no one had been able to reach before. This commitment to giving was radical. At the height of his success, he was literally giving away millions of dollars a year. By some accounts, he was the country's most generous giver. He famously stated, "I shovel it out and God shovels it back in, but God has a bigger shovel." For R.G. LeTourneau, wealth was not a measure of success. It was a tool, and its highest and best use was to be given away. He wanted to see the money at work, solving real-world problems and spreading the Christian gospel. He poured funds and attention into projects where his machines and people could make a tangible difference. Despite building a global industrial empire and amassing a great fortune, R.G. LeTourneau never lost his humility. He never forgot where he came from. He was the same man who had started with nothing, who knew the ache of a long day's work and felt the frustration of a broken-down machine. He never put on airs or acted like he was better than the men who worked on his factory floor. He was more comfortable in greasy overalls, chalking a design on the concrete than in a suit and tie in a boardroom. His office was the shop. He always gave credit for his success to his senior partner. When people would marvel at his inventions and call him a genius, he would quickly correct them. He saw himself as a simple mechanic, blessed with ideas. One famous story, he saw a welder struggling with a difficult joint. R.G., already wealthy and in his 60s, grabbed a helmet and took the welding torch and showed the younger man how to do it properly. He wasn't above getting his hands dirty. He led by example, demonstrating the value of hard work and a hands-on approach. He treated everyone with the same respect, from a janitor to a CEO. This humility was the anchor that kept him grounded through immense success and influence. He had the ear of presidents and generals, but preferred the company of machinists and welders. R.G LeTourneau built some of the biggest, most powerful machines the world had ever seen, but he remained at his core a humble servant. He understood that worth wasn't determined by title or bank account, but by character and heart. As his business thrived, R.G felt a growing call to do more than just fund missions from afar. He wanted to use his company's unique skills to directly tackle poverty and underdevelopment. He looked at struggling nations in South America and Africa and saw the same kind of problems he had faced in California, but on a much grander scale. He decided to take his know-how and his machines directly to the people who needed them most. In the early 1950s, he launched ambitious development projects in Peru and Liberia. He secured huge tracts of remote jungle land from the governments of both countries. His vision was to use his giant earth-moving equipment to clear the jungle, build roads and towns, and establish large-scale farming operations. He and his wife, Evelyn, spent long periods of time on site, living in primitive conditions right alongside their workers. He designed and built specialized equipment for the jungle, including his famous tree crusher, a 135-ton behemoth that could roll over and flatten a swath of jungle like it was a patch of weeds. They faced dense jungle, tropical diseases, logistical nightmares, and equipment breakdowns far from any support. It was a true test of his faith and his engineering prowess. While the projects in Peru and Liberia never fully achieved the grand vision R.G had for them, their impact was still significant. They opened up vast areas that were previously inaccessible. They trained hundreds of local workers in valuable technical skills. They introduced modern agricultural techniques, built roads, schools, and clinics that served the community for decades to come. These missions were a bold, audacious attempt to use industrial power for humanitarian good. They showed that R.G.'s commitment wasn't just about giving away money. It was about rolling up his sleeves and putting his own life and fortune on the line to help others. As R.G. got older, he began to think about his legacy. He had built a massive company and given away a fortune. He had changed the face of the earth with his machines. But he wanted to build something that would last even longer. He wanted to create a place that would continue his life's work of integrating faith, learning, and practical hands-on application. In 1946, he purchased a former Army hospital in Longview, Texas, and established LeTourneau Technical Institute. His vision was unique. He wanted a college where students would learn in the classroom and work in a real factory producing real products. The school was built on the principle of learning by doing. Students split time between academic studies and paid work at the on-campus manufacturing plant. It reflected his life, a blend of theoretical knowledge and practical hands-on experience. He poured his heart, soul, and a significant portion of his remaining wealth into the school. He was a constant presence on campus, known as Dad LeTourneau. He gave chapel talks, visited dorms, wandered the machine shops, offering encouragement and advice. He wanted to train a new generation of Christian professionals, engineers, pilots, welders, and business leaders. He saw the school as a factory for producing not just skilled workers, but people of faith and integrity. Today, that school is LeTourneau University, a thriving institution known for top-ranked engineering, aviation, and technology programs. It stands as the most enduring monument to his vision. R.G. LeTourneau passed away in 1969, but his legacy continues. It lives on in the highways and dams his machines built, mission fields his foundation supports, and thousands of lives shaped by the university. He moved mountains, not just dirt, but doubt and limitation, proving that with faith, hard work, and a little ingenuity, one person truly can change the world.